If you're a man over 60, there's something you've likely never been told, and it might be why you've been feeling more tired, more disconnected, or less like yourself lately. I want to say this gently but clearly. It may not be your age, not entirely. What you're feeling, the slower mornings, the dimmed desire, the shrinking confidence, could be something as simple and as powerful as what's missing from your breakfast plate. I know how strange that might sound, but stay with me. I'm Dr. Maya Kapoor, and for over 30 years, I've had the privilege of walking alongside men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, helping them reconnect with their strength, vitality, and sense of self. And what I've discovered is this: your body still wants to thrive even now. It's not looking for miracles, it's asking for the right kind of fuel, the kind it can recognize, the kind it can respond to. In this video, I'm going to share something that could shift the course of your health without prescriptions, without shame, and without waiting months to feel results. You see, there are 3 fruits, yes, fruits, that work with your biology in quiet but profound ways. One helps restore blood flow, another supports hormone balance, and the last gently wakes up your cellular energy. It's not theory, it's clinically supported, and I've seen it work again and again. You deserve to feel strong, clear-headed, and confident in your body. You haven't missed your chance, and you're not too late. So if you've been feeling like you're just getting through the day instead of fully living it, I hope you'll stay with me. What you're about to learn could help you feel more alive, not just in your body, but in your spirit too. Let's begin. 1. Pomegranate, the fruit that opens you up. Let me start with a moment I'll never forget. A man named Raymond, 72 years old, came into my office with a quiet look of resignation. He was the kind of man who didn't complain, grew up working hard, raising a family, always providing. But on that day, something in him was different. He sat down slowly, looked me in the eye, and said, "Dr. Kapoor, I'm not the man I used to be." There was no shame in his voice, just confusion. Intimacy had become a memory. His energy felt like it had evaporated overnight, and most of all, he couldn't understand why. He wasn't on new medications, his tests were fine, and yet he felt like something vital was slipping away. What Raymond didn't realize, and what so many men don't know, is that it wasn't necessarily age taking its toll. It was circulation. More specifically, the slow, quiet decline in blood flow to the places that matter most. And here's the part that surprises people every time. The solution was already sitting in the produce aisle of his local grocery store. Not a pill, not a shot, just a fruit, pomegranate. This beautiful crimson fruit has been quietly studied for years, revered in cultures around the world as a symbol of vitality, and now we know why. Pomegranates are rich in something called polyphenols, which act like fuel for your blood vessels. They help increase nitric oxide, a molecule that relaxes and widens your arteries so blood can flow freely, especially to the areas that tend to weaken first in men over 60. What's even more remarkable is how quickly it works. In a study I often share with my patients, older men who drank just 6 ounces of pure pomegranate juice daily for 2 weeks saw measurable improvements in both strength and endurance, not just physically, but intimately. No side effects, no waiting rooms, just fruit doing what your body was already designed to respond to. But the benefits don't stop there. Pomegranates also support your prostate, helping to reduce oxidative stress and calm inflammation. And if you've ever found yourself waking up at night to go to the bathroom more often than you used to, or feeling pressure down there that didn't quite feel right, this could be part of the answer. Raymond decided to try it. 6 ounces every morning, first thing after waking up. Nothing fancy. When he returned 2 weeks later, I barely recognized him. Not because he looked younger, but because he felt younger. His posture had changed. He smiled more. He made a joke about how his wife was starting to look at him differently again. It wasn't magic. It was biology remembering how to work properly again. And that's the part I want you to hear the loudest. This isn't about chasing youth. This is about reclaiming function, supporting the heart, the blood vessels, the prostate, and yes, the performance that make you feel grounded in your own body again. You don't need to start with a prescription. You don't need to accept feeling sluggish as your new normal. If you've been waking up tired, if intimacy feels like a thing of the past, if the spark you used to feel is dimming, start simple. Start with what nature gave us. One fruit, one habit, one quiet act of restoration. Pomegranates aren't flashy. They don't make wild promises. But what they offer is real. And for many men, that's where the healing begins. 2. Fuel your strength with avocado. Let's talk about something that doesn't get discussed nearly enough: testosterone. Not just the number on your lab work, not just the word that gets thrown around in commercials or supplement ads. I'm talking about the feeling of testosterone, the sense of fire in your belly when you wake up ready to move, to lead, to connect. That grounded energy, that quiet confidence, that clarity of purpose. It's not a myth. It's not just for younger men. And more importantly, it's not gone for good. I've worked with hundreds of men in their late 60s and 70s who came to me saying the same thing. I'm eating okay, I'm active, but I still feel flat, slower, softer, not like myself. That's how Leonard described it. He was 68, recently retired, a kind man with a big heart, but you could tell the spark had dimmed. "Doc," he said, "I just don't feel like a man anymore." And I knew exactly what he meant. Leonard's story, like so many others, wasn't about illness. It wasn't about laziness. It was about hormones shifting quietly over time. Testosterone is more than a sex hormone. It's tied to your motivation, your mood, your strength, your stamina. And when it dips, often without warning, you don't just feel different in your body. You feel different in your sense of self. But here's what so many men are never told. You don't have to jump straight to gels or shots or expensive clinics. In fact, some of the most powerful hormonal support starts with what you eat. There's one fruit in particular I've recommended over and over again, with results that continue to surprise even the most skeptical men: avocado. Yes, that creamy green fruit you've passed by in the grocery store 1,000 times. Inside is a powerhouse of healthy fats, vitamins, and minerals that support testosterone production naturally, especially after 60 when your body needs that extra help. Avocados are rich in monounsaturated fats, the exact kind your body uses to build hormones. They also deliver zinc and magnesium, 2 minerals essential for testosterone balance. But perhaps most important is vitamin B6, which helps regulate cortisol, the stress hormone that, when elevated, suppresses testosterone. Think about that for a second. If you're constantly stressed, fatigued, or stuck in your head, your body is prioritizing survival over strength, intimacy, or energy. And yet something as simple as eating half an avocado a day can gently start to shift that chemistry. That's exactly what Leonard did. Every morning, he sliced half an avocado, put it on toast or ate it with eggs, and just let the habit build. A week later, he walked into my office with more presence. "I don't know if it's the avocado or the fact that I've stopped ignoring myself," he said, but I feel like something came back." His voice had more weight. His eyes had more clarity. And yes, his energy, not just physical, but emotional, had returned. This is what I want for you. Not a quick fix, not a crash, a return, a slow, honest, biological return to the strength you thought was gone. Your body isn't broken, it's just waiting for the right fuel. And avocados, in their simplicity, offer just that. No elaborate meal plans, no complicated prep, just one small daily decision to give your body what it needs to keep making what keeps you feeling like you. Because this chapter of life doesn't mean losing your edge. It means redefining it with wisdom, with care, and with nourishment that works with your body, not against it. You still have that strength. Let's help you feel it again. 3. The Banana Energy Boost. There's a moment I'll never forget. A man named Curtis, 73, came into my clinic not because something hurt, but because something was missing. He sat across from me, hands folded tightly, and said, "I'm just tired, Doc. I wake up tired. I walk across the room and I'm tired. I love my life, but I don't feel like I'm in it anymore." And it wasn't just physical. You could see it in his shoulders, in the way he looked down instead of forward. Curtis wasn't depressed. He wasn't sick. He was simply running on empty. And what he didn't know, and what most men don't, is that at a certain point in life, your body stops creating the spark all on its own. It needs help, real physical fuel, but not from caffeine or sugar, from something much deeper, from something your cells can use. And in Curtis's case, that fuel came from something surprisingly simple, a banana. I know, it doesn't sound like a game changer. Most people overlook bananas because they're common. But inside that familiar yellow peel is one of the most underrated tools for restoring energy, blood flow, and emotional steadiness, especially in men over 60. Bananas are rich in potassium and magnesium, two minerals that help regulate blood pressure, protect your arteries, and support your heart. They're loaded with B vitamins, which power your brain and help produce steady, usable energy at the cellular level. But what makes bananas so special isn't just the nutrients. It's how they speak to your nervous system. They calm it. They steady it. They support your rhythm, not just in how you move, but in how you feel moving through your day. Curtis had been skipping breakfast. Like a lot of older men, he didn't feel hungry in the morning, so he'd grab a cup of coffee and call it done. And every day, he was starting his engine without fuel. I asked him to try something different. One banana first thing in the morning, paired with a glass of water and a spoonful of nut butter. That was it. He looked at me like I was crazy. "That's all?" he asked. "That's all," I said. A week later, he called my office. "Doc," he said, "I stood up this morning and I didn't feel like I was dragging my feet through mud. I had pep." He laughed. He hadn't used that word in years. And the truth is, he wasn't imagining it. His body had been starved for real fuel, and it finally got what it needed. When you give your body energy it can actually use, something amazing happens. You don't just move better, you think better, you feel better, and in the most surprising ways, you become more present, not just for others, but for yourself. That's what bananas can do. They wake up the brain, the blood vessels, the muscles. They get things flowing again in every sense of the word, especially in the lower half of the body, where circulation can grow sluggish with age. It's not magic, it's nutrition. It's biology responding to nourishment. So if you've been feeling dull, heavy, or like every step takes more effort than it used to, don't skip breakfast. Don't grab for a second cup of coffee and call it good. Start with the banana. Simple, soft, full of power. Your body knows what to do with it. All it needs is your permission. 4. The power of 3 fruits. There's something powerful that happens when you stop thinking of your body as broken and start treating it like it's healing. I've seen this shift time and again in men who came to me weary, frustrated, unsure if anything would ever feel good again. And then something changes, not all at once, not with some big dramatic moment, but quietly, gently, like a fire being rekindled after a long, cold night. And often, it starts with something as simple as food, real food. I've seen it in men who begin with just one fruit, maybe a banana, or half an avocado, or a glass of pomegranate juice, and then another, and then another. And before they realize it, their bodies begin to respond. Their eyes brighten, their steps feel stronger. They look at themselves in the mirror and feel present again. And there's a reason for that. Because these 3 fruits, pomegranate, avocado, and banana, don't just help you individually. Together, they create a kind of triangle of support that your body deeply understands. Pomegranate gets the blood flowing, clearing out what's been stuck and bringing oxygen where it matters most. Avocado nourishes your hormones, allowing testosterone to rise again without force or stress. And banana? Banana fuels your cells with energy so your body has the strength to move, think, and desire. When you combine them, you're not just treating symptoms. You're laying a new foundation, one for circulation, one for strength, one for vitality. It's not theory, it's not marketing. It's chemistry, your chemistry, coming back into alignment. I remember a patient, Frank, who came to me after trying so many different pills and programs that promised energy or performance or some miracle. He was tired, not just in his body, but in his spirit. "Doc," he said, "I don't even know what to believe anymore." I asked him to let go of the noise and just try something honest. 1 glass of pomegranate juice in the morning, half an avocado with breakfast, 1 banana with a glass of water. No supplements, no hype, just food. 2 weeks later, he came back with a quiet smile and said, "It's strange. I don't feel like I've gone back in time. I just feel like myself again." That's it. That's the goal. You're not chasing youth. You're returning to balance. You're feeding the systems that have been quietly starving. You're reminding your body that it's not too late, that it still has a purpose, that you're still here. When circulation improves, your heart beats with less strain. When hormones rebalance, your voice feels more grounded. When energy flows, your day doesn't feel like something to survive. It feels like something to live. And when those things come together, so does your sense of wholeness. I've seen it in the way men stand taller, in the way their partners start to notice the shift, in the way their laughter sounds fuller. It doesn't take a lot. It takes consistency, a little intention, a bit of trust in your own biology. You're not meant to feel numb, disconnected, or invisible. You're built for presence, for connection, for strength. And that begins again with the simplest choices. 3 fruits, 3 pillars, and a body that knows exactly how to respond. Let it. Let it come back to life. You've earned it. 5. Start strong every morning. If you've made it this far, then something in you is still reaching, still believing that change is possible. And let me tell you, I've sat across from enough men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s to know that this simple act, the decision to keep trying, is more powerful than most people realize. Because so many men reach a point where they stop. They don't mean to. It happens quietly. One day, you stop expecting to wake up with energy. You stop noticing when your strength begins to fade. You stop initiating touch. Or maybe you convince yourself that intimacy just isn't meant for you anymore. And before long, it's not just your body that slows down. It's your spirit. But it doesn't have to stay that way. One of the most overlooked truths I've seen in over 3 decades of helping men reclaim their vitality is this: your body wants to respond. It wants to heal. It just needs the right signal. And that signal doesn't come from some expensive prescription or a complicated new program. It comes from what you do in the first hour of your day. That hour, those quiet few moments after you open your eyes, isn't just the beginning of another routine. It's a message to your body that you're still in this fight, that you still care, that you're choosing to fuel, not just function. I often tell my patients to start small, start real. Pick just one of the 3 fruits. Maybe it's the half avocado you slice and serve with your eggs, or the banana you pair with a glass of water, or that simple 6 ounces of pomegranate juice. And do it with intention. Do it not because you're chasing some miracle, but because you've decided to treat yourself like someone who matters. That's the shift. That's where the change begins. When you stop skipping breakfast and start using that first meal to nourish your circulation, your hormones, your energy, you start laying bricks again. You begin rebuilding a body that still wants to serve you well. I remember a man named Elias who told me he hadn't had a solid morning in years. He was 74 and had slowly grown used to the heaviness in his legs, the mental fog, the quiet fading of desire. But after just 10 days of starting his mornings with food that actually supported his biology, he looked at me and said, "Dr. Kapoor, I didn't know how far gone I felt until I started to come back." And that struck me, because so many men are walking around with a kind of quiet resignation they don't even realize they've accepted. And the truth is, your body is still listening, still waiting, still capable. So here's my invitation. Tomorrow morning, don't skip it. Don't reach for something sugary and call it breakfast. Don't push it off until later. Feed yourself like your strength depends on it, because in so many ways, it does. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. Because once you do, your body starts to remember. It remembers how to heal, how to flow, how to feel. And you start to remember, too, what it's like to wake up in your body, not just inside your life. That's the beginning of something better, and it starts with you. One choice, one morning, one step forward. 6. It's not too late to heal. There's a belief that starts to creep in as we age, quietly, slowly, and without warning. It whispers that maybe this is just how life is now, that maybe you've missed your chance, that strength, intimacy, vitality, those were part of another chapter. I've seen it in the eyes of so many men I've cared for. That subtle shift from hope to acceptance, not the peaceful kind, but the heavy kind, the kind that carries resignation. And I want to tell you right now, from my heart to yours, that belief is not the truth. You are not too old. You are not too far gone. Your body hasn't given up on you. It's been waiting patiently, quietly, for you to give it what it needs to start again. Over the years, I've worked with men who truly believed they were finished, who had gone years without feeling desire, who assumed their best days were behind them because they no longer woke up with energy, with arousal, or even with clarity. They thought it was age. They thought it was irreversible. But when we peeled back the layers, what we found wasn't disease. It was depletion. It was neglect, not out of carelessness, but out of misinformation. No one ever told them that their blood vessels were starving for circulation, that their hormones were trying to function with no support, that their mitochondria, the tiny engines that fuel every cell, hadn't had real energy in years. And most importantly, no one ever told them it could be restored. That's why I always begin with pomegranate, because without blood flow, nothing else matters. You can have desire, motivation, even stimulation, but if your arteries are stiff, if your vessels are constricted, the signal doesn't reach where it needs to go. And when we open those pathways with something as simple as 6 ounces of juice each morning, I've seen men feel sensations they thought were gone forever. Then we bring in the avocado, not just for testosterone, but for balance. It calms the stress that's been silently robbing you of strength. It gives your hormones the raw materials they need to come back online. And finally, the banana, the fruit no one takes seriously enough, brings everything together. It fuels the energy to use that circulation. It gives your heart and muscles what they need to function, to respond, to act. But what I've found most remarkable isn't just the physical change. It's what happens to a man's spirit when he begins to feel like himself again, when he wakes up without dread, when he feels warmth in his body, not just in his limbs, but in his confidence, in his presence. I've seen men walk taller, speak stronger, even look their loved ones in the eyes differently, not because they became someone else, but because they remembered who they were. You don't need a younger body. You need a supported one, a nourished one, a body that can respond when you ask it to. And if that hasn't been happening for you lately, it doesn't mean it's over. It means you've been running on an empty tank. But now you know where to start. With 3 simple fruits, with a little consistency, with compassion for what your body's carried, and belief in what it can still become. You haven't missed your chance. This isn't the end, it's a return to strength, to connection, to vitality. And you don't have to do it alone. I'm here with you, quietly cheering every step of the way. If you're still here with me, that tells me something important. You haven't given up on yourself, and neither has your body. Even if it's been a long time since you felt strong, confident, or truly alive, I promise you, it's not too late. You don't have to change everything overnight. Just begin. Let your mornings carry meaning again. Nourish your strength, not just your hunger. Choose the kind of care that reminds your body it still has more to give. Because healing doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It begins the second you believe you deserve it. And you do. If something in this video spoke to you, if it made you feel seen or reminded you of what's still possible, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment and tell me what part stayed with you. And if you know someone who might need this message, go ahead and share it. We're building something honest here, and I'd be honored to have you along for the journey.